Hello, my name is Chris Hatala. This is Found in Fanslation, a podcast focused on fan translations of video games that never came out in English or whatever Western language. So, brief background on me: I started what was a small project, and it mushroomed into a 100+ hour endeavor of basically relocalizing Phantasy Star 4. Phantasy Star being one of my favorite RPG series ever for the Sega systems, 8-bit, 16-bit. And all I wanted to change was the names of the planets were mixed up in Phantasy Star 4. It's all I wanted to learn how to change. So I learned all about ROM hacking and got involved in this amazing community of people who just take time out of their day and do this stuff because it didn't exist before and they love it. So my first version of the patch that I posted live was pretty rough and needed a lot of help. I was really fortunate to have the offer of help from the gentleman that we're going to be talking with today. So if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. I'm Squirrel. I've been playing video games for 25 years or so. Done a little bit of work on romhacking.net, and I've helped Chris out with his Phantasy Star 4 localization. A really fun project to get into.
I'm glad to hear you say it was fun and not that I wanted to kill myself, because it was never going to end. And Chris kept writing new things, and that meant new mistakes every single patch. And you stuck with me the whole time.
Yes, that was running through the back of my head, I will admit. But me coming into the project, I really, really wanted to get a finished product out. Yes, it was a little tough, not gonna lie, but the game is just so great. It's such a fun game to play, and fixing bugs is what I really love to see in games. Fix the English, fix bugs, get a great experience with slight modern ability into it, and I'm all there.
Yeah, so my first question was actually, what do you like about Fantasy Star enough that you saw this project and wanted to help me with it?
Well, back in the late 90s, I just started playing RPGs. I'd fresh finished Final Fantasy VI after coming off of Chrono Trigger, and I was talking with my friends, and I'm like, hey guys, I need another RPG to play. What's out there that's great? The two guys that were there both said Phantasy Star 4. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. One of the guys had a copy, and I gave it a shot. Little jaded on the fact that it was the Genesis. I'm a Nintendo fanboy, I'll be honest. But I played the game. It actually sounded great. It looked great. The battles were fun. The pacing was there. The scenes, just great stuff that I had not experienced before, and I just ate it up. Years later, after I finished the game, I played the rest of them in reverse order. Phantasy Star 3 is just not my type.
I don't think it's anyone's type.
But
And I love Fantasy Star.
yes, it's a side story. It's there. It is what it is. I appreciate them for trying another game and that style, but let time speak for itself. The real joy was going back to Phantasy Star 2 and 1, seeing where concepts found in Phantasy Star 4 came from, how Phantasy Star 4 was really tying up story elements from the first two games and bringing this really nice, cohesive grouping of threads together. It was just excellent playing them. Even though, they are old games and they don't have more modern polish or whatnot, but still, I had a great time playing through the series.
So you ended up beating 2 and 1 then?
Yes, actually, I've beaten two like 3 times. I've beaten one probably once. 100%. Every side quest I know of, every treasure chest opened, everything visited. If there was there to do, I got it.
That's really cool. I think a lot of us of a certain, age group, we had one or the other. You probably had a Genesis or you had a Super Nintendo, or you were like the most spoiled kid like on the block, because it was almost unheard of when I was little for, kids to have two systems. So I really like hearing people that have not been afraid to like cross over, to the other platform. And especially makes me happy when someone's a connoisseur of like Super Nintendo RPGs, which I was the flip side. I had a Genesis and a Sega CD, so the Lunar games are still two of my favorite games ever. In college was when I got a Super Nintendo for like $10, started collecting all the RPGs and everything. This was early 2000s, so everything was cheap. Got to appreciate, the other side, classic gaming.
I agree. There's so much of, even in retro gaming communities, you see, I like this company or I like this specific console. Yes, you can have your favorite console, but the games are where it's at. The atmosphere that it brings you, the joy, that's what you need to look for. I like Nintendo. I didn't care for the Genesis. None of my friends really had it, but I'm willing to try it. I've tried Genesis, I've tried PlayStation. I found good stuff on all the consoles that I've given a shot at. You just have to look.
Yeah, I've always felt like every classic video game console usually has like five games, that I feel like every gamer should play. Even on the Sega CD, which people view as a failure and everything, there are five incredible games. I would argue like, 10 really incredible games. But it's aside from like maybe the Jaguar CDI, I don't know. But otherwise, even like the 3DO. But yeah, like I agree with you. There's a lot of Square fans and people who swear by. I have deep seated feelings the same way. I've been getting into Enix RPGs the last couple of years. Actraiser is famous, but Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia, and Terra Enigma are like this unofficial trilogy. Yeah, so I think that's a really great attitude to have, because people have their preferences, but it doesn't mean that playing this RPG series is not going to bring you joy, just like you said. And that's really what it's all about. Part of what I love about Phantasy Star is that all four games, even three, and the text adventures and like everything that we have now that have been translated into English that we didn't have before, they create this cohesive story that I don't think there's anything like it in classic gaming. As cool as the Final Fantasies are, as much as people love Chrono Trigger, as much as I love Lunar and Lunar Eternal Blue, they are confined to one game or maybe two games or a spiritual sequel. But Phantasy Star has like great graphics. The music is great, and it's also like its own kind of style. It's just so unique, and the setting of sci-fi with fantasy has kind of ruined other RPGs for me, because so many RPGs that maybe go into like steampunk a little bit, like, or steam power, kind of like FF6 or even like FF7. I like that, but I just don't like it as much as sci-fi with fantasy elements, and I think it's like pretty timeless. So it's cool to see new people get into it, and that's part of what I wanted to do with this project is the translations. They were done under a really tight deadline. A lot of the translations from Japanese into English back in the day were done in Japan. They maybe had a couple. I just wanted to take this game and make it the way that if the localizers had unlimited time to complete it, what were the developers trying to say? What were the writers trying to say? What were the localizers trying to say that maybe didn't come out properly when Chaz Rudy at the end says, "I'm not going to fight for no mission." Obviously, that got past the editors, and it was probably just because of time. So that was my initial goal with the project. So tell me how you discovered the patch and how you decided, I want to jump in here and make this better.
Not sure I remember how I discovered the patch. I might have seen it on romhacking.net, or
It was on the front page.
actually, you know what? That's exactly how I found it. It was on the front
Oh,
page, and I saw it, and I was like, wow, I need to get this now. Where's the patch? You need bug fixing help, whatever. So I saw it, downloaded it, and played it. Like, I just went through everything, every NPC that was there. Like, I loaded save states in, choose this option, choose that option. Where's this going? What's that going? Hey, I remember this reference. Let's go back to the beginning of the game and see what was going on over there. So I played the heck out of it, and I'm like, okay, some polish could be needed. Let's. I saw in the front page the discussion on romhacking.net. Yeah, there was some more things to do, so I reached out and I'm like, I've got a few, little things that could use some toning up. You looking for some help?
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, please help me. So part of my story with writing and editing and stuff is that I was fortunate to be hired as the head copy editor on the Ohio State daily newspaper when I was in college. So I can edit other people's work, but I have ADHD and my brain just fills in the blanks kind of with my own writing. So this happens to me all the time, even in just like sending texts to people, sending work emails. I have to go over it like, a second time if it's to a client or something to make sure I didn't say something that is complete gibberish. It's just really challenging for me. Even when I played through my own patch, same thing. I know I wrote it and I know what I meant to write. So my brain just glosses over these words, the punctuation that is supposed to be there. So Squirrel helped me. Didn't you come up with double quotes instead of single quotes? So you helped me edit the punctuation, right?
Oh yes. Reading the script, I was like, this could use a little more clarification, but I know the game doesn't let you do that. It's very limited in its text capabilities. So you've got these single quotes. Why don't we get double quotes or dashes and all this stuff? Suddenly the text is clearer and you have more opportunities to express what you need to express. I was actually quite surprised that I was able to do this for you. It's not something I'm used to. I'm more in the programming side.
And that was my weakness with the project. And this is part of why I actually wanted to do a podcast about this. And I mentioned in the first episode, this Sakura Wars podcast by Sega Saturn Shiro, Sega Saturn, Shiro exclamation point. His at is play Sega Saturn. Yeah, so and to me as a copy editor, like that's super cool to, like you said, express exactly what we're trying to get the characters, to say clearly and concisely to the player. And that might not be the most exciting thing to a lot of people out there, but to me, to you, and I'm sure that means other people probably care about it too.
I would hope so. I mean, they're playing not just for the game, but they're playing to see what the creators, and in your case, the fan later, has come up with for the series. And that's if you love the series, it's something you're going to be excited for. I know I was.
Yeah, so I was inspired by this podcast from Sega Saturn, Shiro, and their at is at Play Sega Saturn. Really great podcast. Interviewed the localization team of Sakura Wars, which has just recently come out on Saturn, and I've wanted to play that game for like 25 years. So a lot of these translation teams, it's like Metal Gear Solid, Foxhound. You're assembling all these specialists in their area, and just because you don't know Japanese or you're not a programmer, that doesn't mean that you can't make a huge contribution to a project like this. So I am not a programmer. I am not a developer. I couldn't even get Java programming like in college. It just doesn't connect with my brain and it's not for me. So anytime I had a problem with the patch, when the text auto scrolls in the ending, it's all in the code to manipulate all this stuff, but you obviously have to speak the language. And I don't speak the language. So having Squirrel come in and be able to help from the technical side opened up so many possibilities. And in combination with Lori 1990, who created the original disassembly, which basically means in plain text, we can pretty much edit like the entire game without having to deal with Sega's decryption. So we were able to mess with the items, mess with the weapons. We made one of the key items at the end of the game that like doesn't do anything. Your extra party member for like the final battle can equip it and it ups his stats. What are some of the memorable things that story wise or programming wise, you really remember and feeling good about having a part in?
Practically everything.
Oh,
The no, Working on the additional characters was pretty great. The ending, I'm looking forward to seeing the new scrolling of the ending, but mostly it was the text, the script, the editing of the script. There's so much more text in this game than I thought before I had seen Lori 1990's disassembly and all of the dialogue files. Oh my goodness. So much NPC stuff, so much plot stuff, party chat. So I'm going back to play the game, restart what I was doing, and remember to hit up the party chat after every plot event. It so much text, but it was mostly all great stuff. You would put in some references into the game. The game already had references to other stuff from the time, like Echo the Dolphin, Sonic the Hedgehog. You find stuff in there, but you added more, and you also made connections between one NPC that has really had no purpose in one area, and gave him a connection to some other NPC in a totally other town that fits into the plot. And I'm just like, this is the kind of stuff I'd rather see.
Oh, are you thinking of the graphite pencil salesman?
Yeah, actually, that I found neat. Was that something original? Or, I mean, I don't think that he was connected to his family back then, or was he?
I think so. What we're referring to is there's a dude in the town that you start in, Aido, that he's got a big backpack. He's a unique sprite. He's got a bunch of stuff and like a backpack and like carpets hanging out. And in the game, he's just like, oh, I have to sell these things for my family, but now I can't get back to them. I can't remember what town he's from. I think you can talk to his family. That's probably how I.
Yeah, his wife is somewhere out there.
And this kind of leads me to another thing I wanted to talk to you about too. But mostly, I feel like the game does not take itself too seriously when it's appropriate. So in Phantasy Star 4, it references other Sega games. There's a lot of things that are just very lighthearted, almost lunar lighthearted in some places. The school building that one of the first party members, his fiance is a school teacher, and there's all these books in the classroom, like A Swim with Echo and Run, Hedgehog, Run. So I felt like there was license, like in places where the game, the literal dialogue is like, oh, these students like don't work very hard in this college town. So it's like, well, let's take that as an opportunity to just build on that. And I had blowback from a couple people about doing stuff like this, and I love working designs and their translation styles for their, especially for their 16-bit games, when they kind of had less filter and they just kind of did wherever they wanted. And I feel like the Lunar games are very lighthearted, and Working Designs writes things that are, just fun. They're very conversational. They would also throw in a lot of pop culture references, which I made sure not to do because I know they really piss people off for whatever reason in Lunar games. But
Oh, no, you didn't.
I don't think I put any in, did I?
Oh,
Can Jam doesn't count because that's a game. It's literally a game with trash cans. So you can't say it's a pop culture reference, in my opinion, because it's a game kids can play with trash cans.
yeah, I'll take that back. You're right on Can Jam. I was thinking of, what was the other backlash? Calling Zio emo.
I forgot about that. I started the project out as something that just I wanted to play. Whatever you make the first try is not going to be perfect. Yeah, you can't please everybody, but I looked at every piece of feedback that we got. Just call like Zio emo, the villain for like the first half of the game, because he doesn't really have a personality or kind of a point outside of like he's a possessed asshole. So I just kind of like wanted to make fun of him a little bit. So when one person's like complaining about him, I call him emo, and someone was like, "Oh, I was loving the pitch," and that took me out of the game completely, and like I quit or something. So I was like, "Oh, this is fine. Like, what are they talking about? Like, have a sense of humor." And then we had a conversation about that, and then I thought you were right in the end that emo in no capacity should exist as a word in the universe. Is that right?
It wasn't me that made the comment. I, I did slightly agree with the person. It did take a little bit out of the game. When I was editing, I was aiming for that 94 feel. And I don't think emo was used quite often during that period of time. Granted, that's
Oh,
25 years ago. My memory could suck.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
But it slightly took out of the immersion. But for me, not that much. It was something worth discussing, though. So I did bring it up to you. What did eventually happen with that?
I changed it to something not controversial. I can't remember what. I really appreciate that people would even take like the 30 seconds to send me an email or send me a PM on romhacking.net to say, "Oh, I didn't like this one thing." Because it's like, think about just what how you do in your everyday life. If something like pisses you off a little bit, or let's say, you're watching ESPN or something and you don't like something one of the talking heads says, you're not going to go on, well, most people aren't, I think. You're not going to go on Twitter and be like, but you said this one thing and I hate it. And anyone who bothered to play the thing and then send me feedback directly instead of like writing like a mean review. One person, it's up there because you can't take these things down. It's like Yelp. One person has a review on there saying that, oh, he made Alice a C word and
Mm,
there's this glitch at the beginning of the game. And it was like, man, I created this one glitch because of other bugs that I fixed. And it just happened to be in this one version of the patch that was up for like 4 days. So, of course, this this guy who does not seem inclined to like it in the first place, plays that version and was very angry
I
about it.
remember that guy. And it's almost a shame because if they really followed through on what they said and just dropped playing the fanlation, then they're missing out on the rest of it. Because first off, that's still kind of early in the game, and there could be so much more. And this isn't a static project. At the time, you can go back and fix it or provide constructive criticism. The guys that are out there saying, this wasn't great, I'm out, see ya. You do know that they are passionate about the game because they took the time to download and play it, but that's not helping the community. Play the game all the way through, or at least to a point where multiple things have gotten on your nerves. Because constructive criticism makes the final product better. It just does.
Yeah.
More collaboration really helps.
Yeah. And this has kind of altered my thinking a little bit too about ROM hacks. And now when I play a ROM hack and I really enjoy it, even if it's one that I played like 4 years ago, I've gone on romhacking.net now and left a positive review to show some appreciation because I've always my whole life felt like I should be creating things like, but I'm been too chicken to take a path that I can really do that. And now I have a business that uses video games for entertainment. So I feel like I'm doing something different in the event community, but I'm just using something that people already like. So it's not really like creative. I'm just taking something that I felt like should exist already, but somehow didn't. That's what I was trying to do with Fantasy Star 4. I was like, I can't believe no one has been so bothered by Parma supposed to be Palma in the game, and Dezolis is supposed to be Dezoris. I don't mind Dezoris as much being transposed there, but Parma is famous city in Italy, yes, but it's Cleveland's biggest suburb. So when they talk about Palma and this happened, and it's I just think of like pierogies and stuff. It takes me completely out of the game the way emo, took that person out of the game. So that was just really my goal with the project.
And man, what a lot of time spent on that project it's been.
How many hours do you think you put in? Because I put somewhere between 100 and 200. I lost count after like
Oof.
100.
Uh,
You put a ridiculous amount of time on this for something that wasn't even yours. I was amazed how
well,
much you were willing to help me.
I'm actually one of those people that was bothered by the translation inconsistencies and such. So I spent hours a day, like 2, 3, 4 hours a day after work, looking at the script, poring over it character by character, reading it, figuring out if it fit, did it fit the window, all that stuff. Man, for the weeks I've done that, and the multiple revisions, oh geez, I have to put my thinking cap on.
Poor Squirrel. So every time I would implement all the awesome edits that I got from him, I would fix this NPC's dialogue, or I would think of something else I could add to, Rika saying here, and then I just created more bugs and more errors, and some more severe than the others. So pretty much every time you would go over like the whole script and compare the old one to the new one, and yeah, check for coding changes that no longer worked and stuff like that. And yeah, I was amazed. Yeah, thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. I'm actually quite happy you let me continue to work on the project. There were times I'm like, I know this text needs to be edited, but am I ticking the guy off? Do I let him go with this, or do I say something? And I had to struggle with that, and I try for perfection. It's not obtainable, but I'm looking for the best work I can do, especially if it's for somebody else. Yeah, the revisions, sometimes you're bringing it back, your edits are making it even better and better, and then you get to that one edit, and it's just like, are you gonna throw people out of the atmosphere again? But we got through this quite professionally.
Yeah,
I'm glad to say, but it was fun. It was time.
yeah.
I still expect to be able to see another script and maybe tweak something up again. I don't know.
That's one of the tough things I think about Phantasy Star 4 in particular. The localization originally, I think, sets the stage really well. It's got such great inter-party banter in a way that I can't think of any other classic RPG outside of the two Lunars really having so much back and forth. When you talk to like a random NPC, you know, Rune might say something to, Rudy, and then Rika chimes in or like whatever. That is just not common, even like new RPGs.
Yeah, the party camaraderie was very nice, refreshing. You had a little bit of that in, say, Final Fantasy V, maybe 6. The long, well, no, I was going to bring Final Fantasy 7 into this, but no. It was great to see, especially with the character portraits and the manga style panels popping up throughout. It just really worked.
Yeah. And I think with that, there were so many instances where we just would look at a line and think like, oh, Rika would probably say something like this about it. And then Root would probably say something like this about it. And there's basically like unlimited potential in the game to have more and more character development and more conversation. We, as fan translators, are in this weird place where we have no deadline. Like a film, the director is only has so much time because he's under pressure from the studio because it's a commercial product. It has to come out, it has to make money, etc. As fans, we can just do this stuff all day if we want to, as we did.
We sure did.
Yeah, there's days where I was just so obsessed with this. I would just basically write and code for 8 hours. I have a weird job where in special events it's kind of like bounty or starve basically. It's like you get a huge job and you're like, "Oh, this is great." And then you kind of have like nothing going on otherwise. So, it's nice to have that flexibility, but it also can let me indulge my I don't want to say obsessions because that
Your creative juices.
yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so we have no expiration date on a project like this. So it's a big challenge to limit yourself, I guess, even, and say, okay, we could do more, but we have to stop here. So you even mentioned going into more the character motivations, because I feel like this whole time I never really got a feel of even who Rika is supposed to be. She's 1 year old, so she's like so naive in so many ways. But spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear more about the game, it's kind of obvious. But so she's the love interest for Chaz Rudy by the end of the game. And in the localization, really hasn't, in my opinion, set that up at all. And even in the original, in the ending, spoiler alert again, she's gonna go back to like another planet, but there's no in game, there's no reason given in the ending for her to even do that. So we kind of had to write around all these plot points and figure out her personality. I feel like I never. What do you think about the state of the characters as we have them now?
She was, in the beginning, a blank slate, cheerful, helpful, had the book smarts, but no social skills. She truly develops over the course of the game, so there's plenty of places to take her, but the original localization kind of just let it lie flat. I mean, she does mature, she speaks her mind more, she fits in with the party better, but there's no big payoff. And in my opinion, during the ending, the romance thing almost comes out of nowhere. Like I know there's some hints
Yeah.
in the game. They're very few, but oh yeah, she does have a reason to go back and leave.
Oh, what is it?
Oh, spoilers. She was created for Seed, the computer, to assist, or at least I believe assist with Seed's work. Now, with everything fixed in the solar system, the only place left for her to go to continue that work is up at Kura? No, Zelon, space station Zelon with the androids. So that, in my opinion, that's why she's going. But she's got plenty of opportunity to not bother with that. The other two androids are more than capable of dealing with that.
Yeah, I never thought of that. I don't think we've never. I don't think we ever talked
No,
about that.
well,
Actually, I've never thought of that angle.
no, we didn't discuss that. Like, the ending just was the ending. I let that mostly go.
So, spoiler alert for the ending of Phantasy Star 4. Rika says, "Oh, I have to go back to Dezoris, the snow planet, with the two androids." And I guess possibly after that, she could, yeah, go up to the satellite. The localization doesn't really say.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm leaving.
From what I found in the Japanese, she's just like, "Oh, peace, I'm out of here." And she's like hanging back by the ship. Obviously, doesn't want to go. And then they go in the ship, and she changes her mind, and then she just like jumps off in the ship in the atmosphere, and Rudy catches her. That's the end. So it was like, okay, point of the project was not to just like put in like a bunch of working design jokes. It was to look at, what is the game, what have the developers and the writers decided, and how can we make that vision more clear because we have the time and the passion to like do that. So with Rika and Chaz, we basically had to like shoehorn in this romance into the game. So we're not going to make new graphics. We're not going to create new relationships or things like that. So we have the cutscenes as they are. So as another aside, Rudy and Rune in the game have a very contentious relationship, and it's also kind of silly. But it's like, okay, this is what's in the game. So how can we make this as good as we can? And this is what we try to do. So spoiler alert, in the scene with Alice's death, Rudy and Rika have a little scene together, and we just kind of changed it. So he's basically like, "I'm really glad you're here. Obviously, I want to say something more about how great you are, and I have a thing for you, but we haven't known each other that long, and you're 1 years old."
Putting in actually good foreshadowing.
Yeah, attempting to. So, romantic reunion at the end doesn't come out of completely left field. So, what I ended up coming up with in a vacuum is that in Phantasy Star 2, all the stuff that's happening in the beginning is because Nei, or Nay, as she's supposed to be called, I still call her Nei. She's half biomonster, half human, and she, well, spoiler alert, Phantasy Star 2, gets killed by Nei first, like her kind of sister. It's this cool whole thing. Also, doesn't really get developed that much because it was 1989. And Rika is the culmination of this project. And it's not even in the game, but the developers in the Phantasy Star Compendium, which we now have translated into English thanks to Rebecca Kapowski, her RPG site is awesome. check it out.
Yay. You should check it out.
So that was a huge help for this project because we could actually know what the developers wanted for different story moments and things like that. So I came up with that Rika, after all this is over and everything, she knows that Nei died and she was treated like crap basically, like in her time by humans because she was half monster. So, okay, she's afraid to live with, you know, Rudy. And I just have like Ren say that. She's more afraid what's gonna happen to you, Rudy, than what's gonna happen to her. So it's like, okay.
It was it was more fleshed out than what we actually got, with semi out of nowhere nonsense coming out of Ren, but you fleshed that out pretty good.
Oh man, what does he say in the original? It's like doesn't make any sense to me.
Like she Ren knows that she's hesitating between going and staying with Rudy, but he says the path you take will be a difficult one.
It says that in the ship right before she's gonna jump off, which I like, so we kept that.
Yes. But it was so generic if you haven't played the rest of the series.
Yeah, and I feel like there's so many moments in Phantasy Star 4 that were just begging to be connected to 1 and 2, but in the English, they obviously didn't have people localizing who were familiar with Phantasy Star. I mentioned this in the first episode. Game Fan in their review said, "Oh, why didn't you have the localizers play Phantasy Star 1 and 2? Those games are really hard." That's a little bit unreasonable, but you'd think you'd have a dude around the office who had played Phantasy Star in English because, you know, he works at Sega and he's a big fan to say, oh, that's not Dr. Lubitz. That's gibberish. It's supposed to be Dr. Levano, the guy who invented their spaceship, you know, etc. So this is what we're trying to do, tie all the ends together.
Indeed. And there are a lot of ends.
What were some other connections that you were happy to see restored or connections that we made up, basically, opportunities that we saw?
Changing one of the towns to be was it Paseo?
Oh yeah, what did you think about that? I don't think we've really talked about that. So, as a brief in the game, there's a city called a village called Termi that worships basically Alice from Phantasy Star One because she saved the solar system and she's one of the best RPG characters ever. There's no city called Termi in any of the games, but the city I've read some people think is located in the place that the Motavian capital, Paseo, could be. You know, you could argue. So yeah, what did you think about that?
I was up and down on that one for a while. I was thinking about it. Uh, Referenced all the material you quoted. Um, Boy, that took a while. There's so much lore. But I came around to it.
This is basically like challenges that you face trying to do something like this. There's all the stuff not in the game that you just have to find, and it's thanks to people who have bothered to translate these developer thoughts and things from Japanese into English, and that's what we had to rely on as best we could. So I'm sorry, continue.
Quite all right. But in the end, I thought it did work. It is quite plausible for that location to be Paseo, and that's where she went back to. That's where her statue is. It all makes some amount of sense, and it makes another connection, which the series is full of. And I did come around to that, and I did like that one.
Oh, cool. I'm glad to hear that. It's fine, you know, some like random people in a village want to worship a person from another planet who saved the solar system. Great to see her regarded in Phantasy Star 4 after like the world has ended essentially and is being rebuilt. But yeah, I just thought it'd be way cooler. Okay, so in Phantasy Star 1, spoilers, I guess, but like, come on. You beat Lashik, Classic, you beat him on Palma in Azera Castle, but then you go to Motavia, back to the capital, Paseo, and that's where you defeat Dark Force. So Alice meets Dark Force for the first time, you defeat him, and then that's where the game ends. So I was like, well, wouldn't that make sense? You know, if she's remembered here with a particular reverence.
It's not like she could have been remembered anywhere else, because in Phantasy Star 2, spoilers, her home planet got blowed up.
Yeah.
Motavia made the most sense, because Deserins are too cold.
Yeah, they don't really care what's happening. Oh, yeah. So this was really, really hard for me.
Oh, you're going to talk about the accents on that planet, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to hear your thoughts on it. So
Oh, man.
basically, Dazorians, so the third planet, the snow planet, these Dazorians are supposed to have an accent. I can't remember what the equivalent is in Japanese, like how it would relate to English. All I know is how it's localized in Phantasy Star 1 and 2. In 2, they just kind of like talk like hillbillies, kind of.
Depending on which hat you were wearing.
Yeah, exactly. So I couldn't get a sense of like what the point of that was in the first place, but it exists. Sega made it. So what do we do with this? So in Phantasy Star 4, there's supposed to be like this really old Dazorian who has like a very Dazorian accent. And in the English, he's just talks like everyone else. So it's completely pointless why that's even in the script. So the closest thing I could come up with is to make him talk like someone from Pittsburgh, which is called a Yinzer. If you look up Yinzer, you will see what I'm talking about. Pittsburgh kind of is a foreign country and like its own.
Oh, that's where yins comes from.
Yeah. So what did you think about the Dazorian NPC? How we kind of have it there? It's not extreme, but it's kind of like the instead of the tha for like the,
Oh,
and they use contractions, like instead of Corona Temple, they call it Krona Temple. Like, see, oh, I just made that change. Actually,
oh
it's in the
great.
new patch. But yeah, tell me what you think about how that was handled and what alternate ideas we could have considered.
Ooh, at first, I had no idea he had a heavy accent from the rest of the Dazorians. So I was not happy with that when I got to that part of the game. It might have been.
And it was pretty thick. I
Ooh,
It was very thick accent I had written in the first version. So
yes, it was thick. It wasn't. Maybe I was just tired of all the editing and such, but I hit a stopping point. I had to reread his text in game 3 times before I could make out a sentence. And I'm thinking to myself, what happened here? What in the world is going on? Did I apply the patch incorrectly? But nah,
when you gave me that feedback, which I appreciated because this might be funny to me, but if no one can even understand it, it's just going to piss people off. What good is that?
agreed. So I took it, and how do you put this? Normalized it so that the words were consistent in terms of how you take the letters in English and then turn them into sounds, so that they, at least in my point of view, were understandable. I could convert what he was saying into just plain English. After that, well, like 5 revisions of that, I I started to understand him, and at that point, I was more or less okay with it. It wasn't as thick. It didn't take me more than 2 readings of a sentence to get through what was going on. Even like halfway through a sentence, I knew what was coming at that point. But after finding out that he had a unique dialect, I was all for it. Maybe not the Pittsburgh choice, but you got to give somewhere. That's just your take on it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I want to do, in this like director's commentary or whatever, and the podcast is to communicate that doing a fan translation of this, even like an official translation, our languages are just so different, Japanese and English. I know like preschool or Japanese basically, so I am not a Japanese speaker or reader by any means. But I know enough now about the language that it's not one to one. It's not as easy as, Spanish to English. They have a different way of communicating things that in English is going to sound odd. The way they talk about, oh, I put my soul onto the wind into this project or something. Like,
Oh yes, I watch a ton of anime, and even I've picked up on the translation difficulties. It's quite complex, their language, and so many idioms that we're not familiar with, and little nuances and such. They even have an honorific system for referencing another person. It's not going to come out exactly how the creators intended it. You're going to miss something. And it's I mean, I don't do professional translations. I know basically what I've heard through watching anime, but you gotta have to give somewhere. Make what you think, or as best as you can interpret, what the original creators intended, and bring that to a version that you think your culture can appreciate. It's very challenging. And that's not even what the project was really about. It was. I get the impression you were going for, some cleanup and light patching of things, and then it became much more.
yeah, all I wanted to do, all I wanted to do was learn how to change Desolus to Desoris, and Parma to Palma, and Desolesians to Desorians, like it is in Fantasy Star One. That's all I wanted to do. It just snowballed.
Like all good patching projects do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just really love the game. I love the characters. I love the universe. And it became really fun to write them in more of my voice a little bit because this is just my take, on the universe, to try to get into the characters' heads about how would they treat each other based on what we know of their personalities, to get into the developers' heads of, okay, what were they trying to tell us with this story moment? For instance, in the compendium, which is all these developer interviews, you find out that you basically meet Meow, your cat party member from Phantasy Star 1, who grows into this like giant cat to get you up to the final dungeon. He's who you meet in Phantasy Star 4 in this like hidden cave. But in the localization, and it appeared to me, even in the Japanese, it is not clear that this is the same character from 2,000 years ago. You feel like it could be his descendant, basically. And I don't know why there is that ambiguity because the creators say, oh, this is Meow, and here's why we put him in the game. They say this literally. So I'm like, well, why isn't this just in the game? So that's what we did. It's like, oh, humans know me as this name. I traveled with the heroine 2,000 years ago. It's like, I think that strengthens the universe and it makes the game cooler and draws you more into the game, knowing these factoids that maybe are not essential but enhance.
Especially if you couldn't tell from the fact that he's the only one with the giant wings on his back that he's special. But yes, tying it together makes the game all that much more enjoyable.
It's really enjoyable to have someone else who cares as much as you do about something like this and wants to help, and also you speak the same language from a grammar standpoint even.
Indeed. You get to hear other people's viewpoints, and like you've pointed out things to me that I've never seen before. And I appreciate you doing that. It gets a better understanding of the world,
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
the game universe that much more enjoyable.
Yeah, on episode 1, I was talking to Vivify and I mentioned the Space Century versus the AW, and why canonically it's Space Century in the American, I should say the English Phantasy Star 1, and then why it was AW. And I was like, oh, that's after Wise. And he was not familiar with that part of the lore because it's all stuff I just had to dig up from the compendium, from these other developer interviews. And it's like, oh, they invented all this stuff. It exists all in their heads. So it just sucks that it's not in any of the games.
Agreed. I saw some of your text adding things in, and I'm like, wait, is he making stuff up? Where in the world did this stuff come from? Wise? Who the heck is that? And then you pointed out the compendium to me, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, holy crap, there's stuff in here for another game. And it's just out there in this guidebook. I hear games in Japan get compendiums and fan books and whatnot, but I'd never seen one before. And all this information that was planned and cut is just like, some of this is great material. Keep it in the game. Oh, that reminds me of some of the that particular piece of dialogue where Rudy is reading a book in what's that first town? The college town.
Oh, Piata.
Yeah, thank you. And it's essentially it almost felt like an info dump. I'm like, when does this text end?
Oh yeah,
Where does this sentence begin and
the one.
end?
Yeah, the one by
So that's where some of the need for the punctuation came in. But once I wrapped around it, it's like, oh my goodness, there's all this lore and stuff that nobody's really gonna find unless they go looking for it. And it's just great to have that in the game. It brings out more of the universe, and I love that stuff. It's great that you've put all that in there.
Yeah, and it's just so cool that the developers put that capability in the first place, because Phantasy Star 4 and Lunar and Lunar Eternal Blue are the only games that I feel like I've ever played where you can go up to every bookshelf and it says probably something different, or the shelf with the cups, or like the fireplace. That's just like so cool. So in the code, basically, you can't control every bookshelf or every fireplace, but you can basically control most of them, and many of them are unique. So, like Seiya's classroom, Han's fiance, which the game already had book Golden Axe Volume 3 and Run Hedgehog Run to swim with Echo. So, this is already the game. So, let's have some fun with this. Let's expand upon this. Same thing with like the history books in Piata. I was like, man, like nobody knows about all these cool aspects of the universe because they're not in any of the games, and we never got these books and things translated into English. So even in the games, they never say like what the hell AW means. The games all take 1,000 years apart. So the first one's like 312, the second one's AW 1300, and four is I think AW 2200 something. So it's like, oh, well, let's explain that. Like that's cool, And if you're playing a fan patch of Phantasy Star 4, you're probably more likely than the average person to give a crap about that. Is what I was thinking too.
Exactly. Personally, I thought it was just an oversight of the original localizers that all of a sudden the year format changes. So I'm like, the beginning of Phantasy Star 1, you're given this year and this nomenclature, and then that made no sense to me. I mean,
Yep.
it's clear that the games were 1,000 years apart, and like 342 to 2284, I think it was, in 4. It's like, math doesn't kind of add up.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the toughest things about Phantasy Star in English. And I was talking to Vivify about this because he worked on Phantasy Star Generation 1 and 2, the PlayStation 2 remakes, and this was kind of like this opportunity to join all these games together that as English speakers, we could not make any of these connections as much as we love Fantasy Star. Like Rune's flaily magic is supposed to be Alice's fire in the first game, but it wasn't localized like that. So we have no connection. So the first patches that I did used all the generation 1 and 2 technique and magic names, but they're squished into whatever the 5 character limit that we have, which Vivify told me Lordy figured out how to expand. So even though I don't play that version of the patch, I want to figure out how to do that. So that was the original goal, is to like have generation 1, 2, and 4 match up basically in terms of references, and that went down to like the magic and like the techniques, because they were just localized different, and the Japanese have had this the whole time, and we never got it. And it's just nice to know that it exists, I guess, in English.
Yeah, I've always found the naming schemes of the characters' abilities to be kind of out there.
Yep.
I mean, Rune has got Flaily, Rudy's got Foy. Or does he have Foy? No, he's got Thu, thunder, light.
Oh yeah, the main character always gets Stu for, and that doesn't even have any connection to Alice. So it's like, what's the point? Like, why does the main character in 2 and 4 have Thu?
Yeah, you use Foy here, or Tandle, or Hoon. Oh man, I struggled with that when I first played the game. I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to use techniques.
Oh god, there's still techniques I don't even know what they do.
Oh man. And the combo system. I haven't yet to see all the combos.
Oh, I definitely have not. Yeah. Oh my god, that'd be an awesome fan mod to invent new combos.
You do have the opportunity. If I recall, the back of the box, or either the back of the box or the manual, said there were 15 combination attacks, but the game only has 14
Oh no way,
actually obtainable.
I know that.
And there's a 15th semi-programmed, but doesn't do anything. Like, it gives you some animation on the screen, but nothing, no damage happens, no effects. Maybe you could
Ah.
hijack that. I just added another month to this project.
Yeah, see, this is how this fan stuff goes. It's all rabbit holes into rabbit holes into rabbit holes.
And the only limitation is the ROM size. And there's enough for maybe 25% more text before you hit the cartridge limitations.
Oh, is there a limit? I really don't know anything about the Genesis Mega Drive architecture. So there really is a limit of how big a cartridge we can make.
You get 4 megabytes is the cartridge port limit without 32x or without bank switching. And from what I know, only one Genesis game had bank switching.
Is that Super Street Fighter 2?
You got it. It is
Friggin' 40 megs.
40 megabits. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 4 megabytes is the normal limit on a Genesis. And there's room. Why did I tell you this?
Thank God we got plenty more room, man, to to mess with, because I think the patch is up to like 3.2 or something.
Ah, well, that's the nature of patching. Since you're starting from a disassembly, the entire game gets shifted around as needed. So an IPS patch format is not going to effectively. There's other patching methods out there, far beyond my nine knowledge, but IPS is not the way to go for this. But I'm already tapped out on that, on the knowledge of that. Yeah, IPS is like, go change this section to this, change A to B, but in reality, you need to just give me 3 more characters and then change things. Instead of, this data may have shifted, I'm going to repeat it 500 times over. That was a terrible explanation. Don't take my word for it.
You do a better job than me,
No, do take my word for it, but
because I'm not a programmer.
yes.
So it's been fun learning this stuff, but it's never going to be what I do. So there's a couple more projects that I want to get into, but yeah, I'm always going to be relying on other people's programming prowess. And
That's what the community is there for.
one of the communities I used to frequent, I used to run one of the like major Street Fighter 2, Marvel 2, Smash tournaments, and the fighting game scene is like pretty toxic and pretty cutthroat. So when I venture into different either fan or professional communities and people are just nice to each other and they don't have a reason or like a conniving reason to be nice to each other, it's just like being a cool human being and we like this thing, so we do it together. I really appreciate. And the ROM hacking community, at least everyone that I've met so far, has been fantastic. So it's a really good feeling to be working toward a common goal and to have people support you and to not have people around for the most part who want to like tear you down, but just want this thing to be as awesome as possible. And I can't even tell you how much I appreciate your help and being willing to, number one, offer to help in the first place, but to follow through on that and help me out with hundreds of hours or whatever of editing help when we're not making money off this thing. We're just doing it because we care about the game, and that's pretty awesome.
Well, you are quite welcome for all of that. And let me say to you, thank you for letting me be a part of this. It was fun, actually, with quite a lot of this. It's great to be a part of something that I enjoyed especially playing it when you've made the next patch. Thank you.
Oh, geez. Well, that's very kind. I appreciate it. But yeah, we're all just all doing this to create something cool. Are there other projects that you look to get involved in the future outside of what we've done?
I haven't seen anything. It's really a timing issue. I've work is so much of my time is just like unwinding at the end of the day. But if something comes along, mostly in the 16-bit era, I'm I'd like to get my hands in that. Some of those untapped gems that haven't gotten their localizations.
Oh, like what?
Hmm. I'd have to go look at the list on romhacking.net or elsewhere where you've got some RPGs that haven't been translated or just need some polish.
Yeah, I emailed
Uh,
Aeon Genesis about Lady Stalker because I'm a huge Sega fan and a huge Climax fan. Dark Savior is one of my favorite games. I think it's one of the most unappreciated games of all time, and he has that on his list. So I emailed him and I was like, "Hey man, like, if you need any help, I did this thing with Fantasy Star, and I don't know Japanese, but I would assist in any way that I can." And he emailed me back right away and was like, "Oh yeah, this is on our list of things to do. Real life has kind of got me on lockdown, and obviously that's understandable." But he was like, "It's on my radar. Someday we will get to it. I'll let you know if I need any help." And that makes me happy. It's like at least I offered. I hope I can be a part of that. So same deal. I hope, you find some other things that, start up and you might be able to contribute to with your time. And I encourage everybody who is listening, if there's any game that you're passionate about, whether it's as famous as Final Fantasy VII or it's as obscure as Dark Savior on the Saturn, see who's doing something with it. And if you can be a part of it, if no one's doing something with it and you've always wanted to, I did with Fantasy Star 4. It's so cool now that there's multiple Fantasy Star 4 edits. Vivify, who I just talked to, he's got a project where he's basically doing a lighter version of what I did. I think there's another one too out now, and it's when I looked like a year and a half ago, there was nothing editing the text of Fantasy Star 4, and I was like, this is like a crime. How many edits of Final Fantasy 6 and 4 and 5 do we really need? And no one is paying attention to like this amazing game over here. So see what's cool out there, and it's something fun to get into. So do it if you want to.
Yep, the community is welcoming and has open arms.
Yeah. Any things that still need to be looked at in our Fantasy Star 4 patch that we can talk about for the future?
Yeah, somebody's always going to be unhappy. I think the majority of people will enjoy the changes that have been made.
Yeah, I hope so. The longer the project went on, the more people reaching out, but especially you, just made me think about like, wow, like even if like one other person like cares about this, that makes me feel really good that at least I contributed to something and hopefully made a great work even better because the people who made it did not have time. So I hope in 50 years, like Sega Gaga is translated, for Dreamcast. I hope people keep inspiring each other to like do this thing because it's this hobby that we like. So thank you, Squirrel, for your help. Thank you so much for doing this podcast with me. And do you have any parting thoughts for us?
So if you like RPGs from the 90s, Japanese art style, give Phantasy Star 4 at least a shot. Maybe try 2, maybe try 1, try 3 if you're morbidly curious, but even on its own, Phantasy Star 4 was a fun playthrough. And this fanlation might spruce it up even more for you. It's getting to a point where it's recommended, in my opinion, to give it a shot.
Cool. Yeah. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate your work. So thank you for giving a crap about this one little thing that I tried to do and making it just so much better. I just can't thank you enough.
It's great, Chris. I thank you for letting me be a part of it. It certainly was fun, and I had a great time talking about it today.
Cool. All right. Well, this was Chris Atala, aka Galleon Unlimited, talking with Squirrel about the Phantasy Star 4 Generation 4 relocalization that is final ish on romhacking.net right now. and hope you enjoyed it and hope you find some ROM hacking projects you would like to undertake as well. So thank you so much and have a good day. See you next time. Bye bye.
Take care.